Let's go. Back. Let's go. If you're just catching this for the first time, this is part 2 of 2. Part 1 was interrupted because of the weather. It's storming outside, so apologies for that. If it happens again, we'll just catch up with our next live show the next time. She has a dentist appointment in a little bit. What's that noise? Okay. Oops, I hit the screen. I don't know what button to press. Okay, so anyway, again, this is part 2 of 2. If you are just tuning into this, check out part 1 so you know where we left off. All right, so we left off on a viewer comment that was asking about the kind of the situation of U.S. tennis.
Why is there no American male players?
Yes, why is there no American dominant male players? And for that point, I guess you could even say women's players. You can't say that Pegula's incredibly dominant. You can't say that Danielle Collins is incredibly dominant, right? They're in the top 10, but look at the era in which they're in. Sure. We were talking about before the video cut off because of the weather that it's a multifactorial stew. It's a multifactorial reason why this is so. Okay. We were talking about it stems from the coaching. It stems from the parents lapping up the coach's BS. But it goes further than that. And we've done entire shows on this topic, by the way. We have talked about cell phones, smartphones. We have talked about, I'll use my own kids as an example. We don't give any of our kids smartphones. Our oldest son, Jonathan, who is now at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, I did not get him his first smartphone until he was a senior in high school. I did not get my next oldest son, Christopher. Again, we have 5 children, hence the name. I did not get him a cell phone until his junior year, and I didn't expect to get him it then, but I told him if he won this tournament, which he had won it the year before, I told him if he defended his title, I would get it for him early, and that he did. Our next oldest, Liliana, who's 13, does not have a cell phone, obviously. The next one in line, Gabriella, who is 10, does not have a cell phone. And the next one in line, Justin Jr., who is 6, does not have a cell phone. Now, sometimes Carla will allow the little ones to come home and use one of her old phones on Wi-Fi to play little games. And let me tell you why I disagree with even that. Because once they get a taste of sitting down with that stupid smartphone and they play that game, when they come running home from school, they don't sit down and grab a bite to eat. They don't sit down and do their homework. They go running to try to find this damn cell phone, which I've already hidden. And I always hide it because even though it's not hooked up, they can still Wi-Fi it and play games. Look, you have to work hard in life. If you don't work hard in life, guess what? Someone else will. And if you think that the players or people or employees or whatever, or students or doctors, the best ones in the world are running home from whatever their mastercraft is and are spending hours on some device, you got to be kidding me. Why is it that people that are hungry end up doing better than everyone else? Because they're hungry. They know if they want to get out, they can't sit down and get glued to this damn thing, right? Unfortunately, there's a couple things that we have to deal with, especially in the United States, and I think internationally, that help us succeed. Things like the ACT score, the SAT score, college admissions test, etc. When you sit down and take that test, there's 100,000 other people taking that test. And you know what? If you don't do well on it, guess what? Shit out of luck. Your parents better have deep pockets because otherwise you ain't getting in. What did George Carlin used to say? There's a big group of people that control, or a small group of people that control the world. Guess what? You ain't in it, right? And that's the way that we approach tennis. That's the way we approach raising children. There are no shortcuts. Get in, work your ass off, practice your ass off, stay positive, be kind, because everyone you meet is fighting a tough battle. And if you don't do it, guess what? Someone else will. Period. How does this relate to why isn't there any dominant U.S. players now? Because what are they wrapped up in? A different ism every time they turn on the television. Oh, this is hateism or crimeism, or I'm making stuff up. But it's always some different ism. It's always some different thing going on. And then they wrap up into their whole way they fit into this ism, and they get on these things and they're stuck to it. We watch this show every now and then, and we don't watch a lot of television, by the way, but there's a show we watch called Catfish, right? It's on MTV, and there's like these You know, people that dress themselves up as avatars or whatever, and then they lure.
I can't believe people do that.
They lure people into pretending they're like exclusive boyfriend and girlfriends when they've never met in person, they've never seen a real picture, they've never had a video chat. I ask myself, how can this be? How can you sit there?
Someone keeps calling me. I wonder if it's an emergency from school.
How can you sit there and pretend you are head over heels in love with someone that A, you've never met, B, you've never seen, and D, you've just carried on basic conversations with?
But yeah, you watch the show. You're hooked to it.
Well, I'm not hooked to it. I fall asleep to it every night.
He is hooked to it. He runs up there at 7 o'clock. I'm like, oh, God.
7 o'clock?
Yesterday was 7 o'clock.
It's like 8:30 and you were asleep before.
No, I was watching.
You were asleep on the couch.
I closed my eyes for 2 seconds. I finished watching the movie. It was good. 13 Lives, by the way. The kids that got trapped in the cave.
You telling me you weren't asleep over there on that couch?
For like a minute.
I went up sleep last night.
No, I was up. Even when we were laughing at you, we're like, oh my God, here goes Grandpa. 7 o'clock. What were you watching when I walked in? Catfish. You're hooked to this thing.
Carla.
You're hooked. You're hooked. Every night it's catfish. I'm like, oh my God.
You look like a catfish asleep on the couch last night.
Oh my God, here we go again.
I went upstairs after I saw her like this on the couch.
No, not true, because we were even talking to you.
That is true.
I can get all the kids out of school to tell us you went up there. Yeah.
Now I got children and mom ganging up on her brother.
Yeah.
And then you came upstairs, and then I went up to use the restroom, and I look back and she's like this on the bed.
Who wants to watch catfish? Like, seriously. Like, I get tired of watching the same thing. Like Justin says, how stupid can you be to like not get this person? Like when you and I talked on the phone, and when we found each other on Facebook, we talked on the phone and we saw each other like, there's the video. Oh, that's you. That's me. Oh, it's real. Oh, let me go see you.
Oh, you and me?
Yeah. Like I wouldn't have continued to talk to somebody for 3 years, 8 years, like some people do.
Yeah.
And never seen the person.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I do have to eat my own words there, because Carla and I did meet in this kind of same way.
Mm-hmm.
I've told the story before. I won't say the full thing again, but she was trying to get her tennis coaching certificate. I had mine, and she was reaching out to other coaches that were in driving distance to another so we could review drills and talk about it, whatever. And but we didn't go on 3 years. We went like 2 weeks. Something like that, and you were right where I was. So
yeah. How
people do that for 8 and 10 years, I don't know. But I can tell you what: if you have 8 years to waste of thinking that your destiny has been that person you haven't seen in 8 years, I think you have something else coming. And if you are also wasting 8 years of your life doing something such, and you're trying to become,
I need to go to school, so.
And you're becoming a great tennis player. I think you have bigger issues. So why is it? Do I think that there are no U.S. men's great dominant tennis players? And you could debate upon the women's side: laziness, apathetic, don't want to work, not hungry, shitty diet, bad parenting, spoiled, silver spoon fed. And the list goes on, but I really think that kind of sums it up. Hopefully that phone call's okay, because that was the school that was continuously calling us, and we have our 3 youngest kids in school, so hopefully they're okay. Back to Jessica Pegula for a moment. The big reason why I like Jessica Pegula, honestly, is because she doesn't grunt. She doesn't screech. She doesn't sound like Sabalenka. Everything good?
I told him 20 minutes.
Okay, was it sick or something? Ear hurting? Okay, so the 6-year-old has an earache. We're going to go pick him up. But anyway, I like Jessica Pegula for that. Also, has not Jessica Pegula made it to 3 out of the last 4 semifinals of tournaments that she's played? Am I right there or am I wrong? Hasn't she made 3 of the last 4 tournaments she's played? Has she not made the semifinals of 3 of those 4?
She's made who? Pegula in the slams? I don't know.
No, I didn't say slam, just tournaments.
Oh, she's been pretty consistent.
She's been pretty consistent.
Been very consistent, yeah.
Did not at some point she had a 33-match win streak?
Didn't
she have a win streak of tennis matches up in the 30 somewhere?
Maybe. She's been consistent, like I said.
That's pretty cool, because her father's a billionaire and owns the Buffalo Bills. You know, the Billionaires Club owns football teams.
I'm sure that girl gets tired of hearing that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is she's fighting.
Yeah.
So even though she is silver spoon fed, she's not playing like that.
I'm sure she gets tired of hearing that. I'm sure that she wants to make her own I don't know, history, I guess. History, what do you call it? Her own.
Yeah, I don't know. But Well, long story short, is I don't think Pagula's going to do any damage to the U.S. Open.
No, I'm sure that she'll be consistent. She'll probably make the second week, right? Around the 16 quarters, possibly.
Yeah, no. Has anyone checked out this young man, Ben Shelton, the young American? I think he beat Casper Ruud.
Unfortunately, he got trounced.
What are your thoughts on him moving forward? We've seen a couple of matches now. We've seen some highlights. We've read his bio. What are your thoughts on him moving forward?
He's good, but he still hasn't decided whether he's going to go pro or he's going to continue playing college. I would say continue playing college.
Yeah. Speaking of grunting, Borna Coric is a grunter from hell. Okay. When Borna Coric hits the ball, he does sound like, and I make reference to the match where Borna Coric was playing Rafa Nadal here recently. Okay. Borna Coric sounded like, and I've said this before, a deer getting mounted in the woods by a buck. And it's a delayed hit. So he hits and it's like, really quite hideous. Again, I'm glad Borna Coric is now getting back in the thick of it, but his grunt is absolutely hideous. Thank you, Borna Coric, for really, really messing up my ears, because that shit is bad.
Jose P, I think I just answered the question. I think Shelton should continue playing in college, get more experience because he got trounced on that next round.
Yeah.
Keep playing. I mean, get the degree, and then come to the tour. If you're that good, you'll start winning, right?
I agree with you.
And Michael Walker, what happened? We live in lovely Dauphin Island. Are you talking about the internet? We live in lovely Dauphin Island, and this is what happens when it rains.
Yeah.
Now it's not raining, so now it's all good.
Yeah. So you have to put the context of where we live. We live on a barrier island that's off the coast of mainland the U.S. It's off the coast of Alabama. There's a 2.5 mile, or is it 3 mile? Something like a 3 mile bridge that connects us with the mainland.
It's a 3 mile bridge.
So when it rains, and that was a pretty significant rainstorm, the internet goes awry, and that's what happened. And it has done that for a lot of years. Sorry about that. Let's talk about a moment, Daria Kasatkina. I always like to talk about Daria Kasatkina. She reminds me, not in the way she looks or her build, but she plays the game kind of like Carla plays. It's just it's robust. It's hard hitting at times. It's in your face. Sometimes there's variety. What are your thoughts on Daria Kasatkina? Didn't she make the semifinals of the Australian Open this year?
I think so.
Didn't she make the 2022 semifinals? Did she not make like a quarterfinal or the semifinals of the French Open this year?
Quarter.
So Kasatkina is someone that I think we need to at least, draw an exclamation point to. I read the top 20 on part 1. Again, if you just picked this up, we had a whole part 1 before the weather cut us out. This is part 2. I read the women's top 20. Kasatkina is right there in the thick of it. But if you could choose one player between Caroline Garcia, who just won a Women's Premier 1000, or Kasatkina to go farther in the U.S. Open, who would you pick? I would pick Kasatkina.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right or wrong? I would. Now, in retrospect, we read the women's top 20, and I think the most of us agreed that it was not a given that any one of those top 20 women would win the U.S. Open. Now, in retrospect, let's look at the men's top 20, okay? So I'm going to read the men's top 20, okay? Starting from the top. Medvedev, Zverev, who, by the way, is not playing. We know he had a surgery. Number 3, Nadal, Alcaraz, which, again, I know he's a good player. I know he's dominant. I know he can hit the ball. I know he's got game, but I don't think he's worthy of being top 3 in the world historically. I just don't. Now, okay, but historically, no. I do not think Alcaraz would be in the top 10 if he was in the era of, say, Sampras and Agassi and so forth. I just don't. And you can disagree with me. That's okay. He has no sense of manliness fight at a tactical level. I don't even know if that came out right. He still is very boyish in his game.
Well, he looks at daddy a lot.
Okay. No,
it's not his daddy, but that's how I feel like every time he looks at him.
Number 5, number 5, Tsitsipas, Djokovic at 6, that's laughable. Casper Ruud, Felix Auger, Cameron Norrie, Snorri, Hurkacz, Rublev, Fritz, Center, Carreno Busta, Berrettini, Schwartzman, Cilic, Bautista Agut, Dimitrov creeps in at number 19, and Alex de Minaur at number 20. Would you say that you would put more money on one of the top 20 men to win the U.S. Open than you would the top 20 women to win the U.S. Open?
Yeah, sure.
I'm almost positive one of those 20 men is going to win the U.S. Open. I'm not, however, positive that any of those top 20 women will win the U.S. Open. Agree or disagree? Pretty straightforward. The projected winners, in my opinion, I know he's not playing, but given that if he was playing, my projected winner, hands down, would be Novak Djokovic. Because he's not playing, who would your projected winner be? I'm still going to stick with Medvedev as a repeat winner. On the women's side, I would throw Halep in there. Okay. I wouldn't rule out Kazatkina. I know that's laughable to some. I wouldn't rule out Pliskova, Carla. I know that's laughable to you. But I wouldn't count out a lot of people on the women's side.
Anybody could win on the women's side, except Raducanu or Leylah Fernandez. They won't win it.
Yeah.
I think Osaka has a better chance still than Raducanu to win it. If you ask Osaka, I would go with Osaka. She could be out of shape. I'd go with Osaka. You know. Now, if you said Serena, Emma, then would have to really be like, let me close my eyes. That's what I pick.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, no.
Coin flipper. What are some of the non-tennis related storylines of this tournament?
Buenamchi, I agree with you. I disagree with Justin. I agree with your comment. Even if Djokovic were playing, I would still think it's a very open tournament. I agree with you 100%.
Opinions are welcome.
This is not his slam. It's just not. This is not his baby.
It
hasn't been a good baby to him.
Hasn't
been good. U.S. Open hasn't been good to Novak.
No.
Hasn't been since the beginning of his career. Just hasn't been.
I know a ball lady that had a lot to do with that. What are some storylines that are not on court related, not on the tennis court related for this U.S. Open? Serena Williams retiring, right? What
so it's going to be big. It's going to be big because of that. A lot of people are going to go. We know. I think we have a member that's going just because he wants to see Serena play the last match.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd spend that much money on going to the U.S. Open, though.
Do you think the draws makers will give her the most run-of-the-mill match you could imagine, even though she's coming in ranked
I think they'll give her a night match.
Prime time.
They'll definitely give her a night match first round. For sure, to give her a chance.
And probably give her the lowest qualifier to come in off of qualifiers.
I don't know that they'll give her the lowest qualifier, but I don't think they can do that because she's ranked so low.
They can do whatever they want.
So.
If you think draws are totally random and billion-dollar industries.
I remember when Sharapova came back from her drug thing, they gave her Halep. She beat Halep. I picked that. Yeah, if we go back in the show, I said she's gonna beat her.
Okay, that's about it. So again, sorry for the part 2. Again, if you caught this after the fact, part 1 is before this. And we are expecting a whole week of rain. Unfortunately, this is really hurting us as coaches. If it's pouring rain, we roll on clay, so it's really hard that you have to wait for the clay to dry and so forth. So it hurts us economically and as a family. But nonetheless, if it does rain, tomorrow or Wednesday, and I think there's a high percentage. We'll do another show either tomorrow or Wednesday, if not both days. But I hope that doesn't occur, and I hope we're on the courts. And then don't forget, during the U.S. Open, we will aim to do a show every single day for the fortnight, all 14 days. Now, we teach clinics on Wednesdays and Friday nights until late. So during the U.S. Open, it's highly possible on Wednesdays and Fridays we will miss simply because of a large clinic that we teach that we all enjoy. So don't forget that if you are playing for the $700 or the 2 fantasy team winners, then check out the rules and entry video that we did yesterday, and that will have all your rules there. Any questions that you may have, we'll take care of it there. The only thing you need to do to play is subscribe. It's free, no strings attached. So that's it. We're going to go pick up the little one from school. That's not feeling well, so we will go do that. And until next time, see you. Much love. Keep the comments going. We'll talk all day. Okay? All right. Peace out. Let's go.